Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome organizer for Kathy Hochul for Governor, Rosa Florian.
Hi everyone, Westchester, wow, you really showed up. Give it a applause, yeah, great. Well, my name is Rosa Florian. I'm an organizing director for the Hudson Valley area, working to get out the vote every single day for all of our candidates in the Hudson Valley. Can I hear it with the crowd? Woo! Okay, Westchester, are you fired up? Awesome. Are you excited for our speakers? And best of all, are you excited to vote in this election? You know, every year we hear that everyone, it's the most important election of our lifetime, but every election is important. This one is most definitely is. Our rights are on the ballot. So, can I hear, do you have a plan to vote this election? Amazing. Well, if you don't have a plan to vote, make sure you make one. Make one for your friends, make one for your family, your coworkers, everyone. The stakes could not be higher. We as young Dems, everyone up here in the front, as young Dems, we have to show up to the polls and go out to vote and show them that we are the future. We are gonna show them that we're voting elected officials, but we're gonna be the next elected officials. You know, abortion's on the ballot. Gun safety is on the ballot. Our democracy is on the ballot. The choice could not be more clear. We want someone who is going to fight for us every single day, who's going to fight for our rights, is going to fight to make our communities safer and stronger. And folks, that someone is here with us tonight. So can I just have the crowd make some noise as much as you can for our governor? Come on, I can't hear you guys. Show them what Westchester has. Let's do it. For our governor, Kathy Hochul.
Oh, yes, we could use more respect, right, women? All right, I am so excited to be here. Rosa, thank you for firing up the crowd and all the work you're doing to deliver the votes in the Hudson Valley. Let's give it up for Rosa Florian. Well done, well done. And you've heard from some extraordinary public servants who I'm so proud to serve with. I know you heard from our United States Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, the powerhouse who delivers for us every single day, and our great senator, who I've worked with for so many years, a dear friend of mine, Kirsten Gillibrand, was out here tonight. And did Jamal Bowman fire you up tonight, our congressman? Oh, yes, he does. How about our ticket, Attorney General Tish James? Comptroller Tom DiNapoli's on the ballot. Let's get him elected to ballot. Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, I need to have as my partner. We can bring them all home. And I was just wondering, is Labor here? Anybody from Labor here? Okay, I feel it. I'm just a warm-up back for the president. Okay, so I'm real excited he's here. You know, a lot of people are saying, why does President Biden come to New York so much? Well, let me make it real simple for you people. He comes here to announce, because of our efforts working with Chuck Schumer, President Biden, and myself, he comes here to announce, 50,000 new jobs because Micron's coming here and didn't go to Texas. Now, he can come any day and announce that. The largest private sector investment in our state's history. We got that done. But also, he was here not long ago. Might he come? How about $20 billion investment from IBM? Yeah, he can come anytime for that. And why is he here tonight? Well, thank you. He's here tonight because he knows there's no place better in the entire United States of America than New York. Who doesn't want to come to New York? Of course he's here in New York. Of course he's here. This is the greatest place to be, so don't question why someone comes to New York. Everybody wants to come to New York. So I think about what's been happening in Washington as well. Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, and our president. what's been described as the most transformational pieces of legislation to lift people up since the New Deal. Now, that's pretty bold, but that's a statement of fact. They got that done. That's what Democrats have delivered. Now, the New Deal reminds us of FDR. Well, does anybody know he lives just up the road a little bit? He lived up there. This is his home turf. So we think about FDR, we think about the New Deal, and we think about the fact that FDR became president, but he was governor first. He was governor of the state of New York during the crash of 1929. And he had to figure out a way forward. Now, the country was suffering, but he had to worry about New York first, right? And he brought together some of the brightest minds, Francis Perkins. Everybody from labor know the name Francis Perkins. And they came up with plans that set our country, as he became president a couple years later, on a different path. So I'm proud to have in my DNA as a Democrat all the accomplishments that started back in this state with our then governor, who became a president, FDR, and the New Deal. So let's think about what we got. Support for workers. How about that? We support our workers. We make sure that nobody falls between the cracks. We make sure they have Social Security and Medicare and other programs as well, similar programs. So I'm proud to be an FDR-style Democrat, because that means things are getting done. But I'm also taking note. People are saying, you know, the problem with Democrats, they're doing all this good stuff, right? We have a lot of accomplishments, but they just don't message the right way. You know, the Republicans are better at the messaging. Well, I'm going to make it real simple for everybody, okay? I can come up with a real simple message. Do you want to have good-paying jobs? Then vote Democrat. You want to protect our environment for generations to come? Then just vote Democrat. Do you want to make sure that we invest in education, have the highest quality education, support our teachers of anywhere in this country? Yeah? Then just vote Democrat. You want to make sure that we get guns off the streets and start saving lives? Then you vote Democrat. And you want to protect a woman's right to determine what she wants to do with her own body, protect her right to work? Then vote Democrat. And you want to protect the sanctity of the ballot box and fight against voter suppression and protect the essence of our democracy? Then you do what? Okay. Is that simple enough message for everybody? Okay, I think we figured it out here. We figured it out. Well, I am so proud to be the governor of the state of New York. We have had some interesting times. I took office unexpectedly. We had to deal with hurricanes, and the pandemic got worse, and we had a mass shooting in my hometown of Buffalo. We had to deal with the Supreme Court overturning my right as the governor of New York to protect citizens under a law that was there for 100 years to say you shouldn't be able to carry a gun in your classroom here at Sarah Lawrence or on a subway or in our churches or our synagogues. I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the fact that they tried to take away rights to an abortion by overturning Roe v. Wade. And you know what my opponent says? Well, guess what he says? He goes, oh, no. Nothing changed in New York. No, I voted against women's rights. I've always been against abortion. I'm against all that. But nothing really changed here in New York after the Dobbs decision. You know why nothing changed here? Because I'm the governor. That's why nothing changed. It's not that complicated, my friends. So we know, you've heard from great speakers. You know it's at stake. You know we all need your votes. And all I know is one thing. When Democrats turn out to vote in the state of New York, we win. It's that simple. That's all we need to do. You turn out to vote, we win this. And I am so proud to be joined by the President of the United States, who is a person of great compassion and empathy, but also the strength and the intellect to guide our country through some tough times. He's been an amazing partner of all of us. The money that he has supported coming back to our states to help us get through the pandemic, lift up our communities, invest in healthcare and education and infrastructure, it's all happening because Democrats are in charge in Washington. And we have to continue to make sure that the Democrats are also in charge in the state of New York. And what I'm gonna say finally, before I bring out our president, there's a lot, he's coming, don't worry, look at me. One more minute, I know, I'm just opening act, that's right. There's a lot of mega Republicans out there, and a lot of talking points about, oh, we're gonna really make headrows, we're gonna crush that strong blue fortitude in a place like New York. If we can get a stranglehold here in New York, we can truly exercise our will and make sure that we have this continuation of talking about lies and scaring people and talking about dividing us and all those things that we reject as Democrats. They think that if they can be successful on Tuesday, that there's no stopping them across the nation. And that is why this election is important beyond our boundaries, my friends. This is about whether or not we're going to stand up and defend everything we have fought for generations. Why New York is New York. All the progressive values that we supported. And that's why we know that the torch that was passed to us from the women of Seneca Falls and the advocates at Stonewall and the labor movement that started here and the environmental justice that started all that weight is on our shoulders as Democrats in New York. And the question is, that torch is passed to us at this very moment. Is that torch going to be extinguished under our watch, or are we going to let it glow even brighter as we pass it on to the next generation? We're going to do the right thing here, and we're going to do it with the leadership of our great president, Joe Biden, our 46th president of the United States of America. He's here to talk to you. Let's bring out our president.
Hello, New York. What a great crowd. Hello, Sarah Lawrence College. One of the great liberal arts schools in America. You guys are really good. It's great to be with my good friend who spoke to you earlier today, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Chuck and I have gotten a lot done together, and one thing I can tell you, this guy never gives up, and that's good for all of us. And by the way, Senator Gillibrand, thank you for everything you do for this state. And by the way, nobody's been a greater fighter for women's rights in the United States Congress than she. She has taken on the military. She's taken on, no, I mean it. I mean it. She is a game changer. And Jamal Bowman, lifelong educator, champion of the next generation for welcoming us to his district. I had to get a passport from him to get into the district. And folks, look, and how about that governor of yours? She's something else. She's someone who takes action. She gets things done. New York, you've got 2 days to make sure the rest of New York knows the good that they have in Kathy Hochul. 2 days until one of the most, and this is, I know I don't look it, but I've been around a little while. Somebody said my birthday's coming up, and I said, no, that must be somebody else. Hey, let them holler, let them holler. That's more like my generation. right. I'm with you. Hey, anyway, look, 2 days is the most important election in our lifetimes. It's going to take shape in this country for decades to come. We're one of those inflection points. I mean it sincerely, where what's going to happen the next couple years is going to have more to do with what this country looks like 20 years from now than anything else. You know, let's be clear. Well, let Joe talk, okay? And we'll go talk about it, okay? Look, this election isn't a referendum, it's a choice. It's a choice between two fundamentally different visions of America. I've said from the beginning, my objective when I ran was to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. And I tell you what, it's a fundamental shift, and it's working compared to the mega Republican trickle-down economics. You saw what happened last time under my predecessor. The economy left it in ruins. He's the first president in America since Herbert Hoover to lose more jobs than he had when he came to office. Fewer jobs, an unemployment rate, 6.4%. He lost manufacturing jobs. Hundreds of small businesses closed in this state alone, let alone around the nation, thousands. And the country in a pandemic with no way out. By the time I got sworn in, only 3.5 million people had been vaccinated, fully vaccinated. Now there are 220 million we got done. So we moved. Our approach is working. Since I came to office, we've created 10 million brand new jobs. The unemployment rate is a historic low of 3.7%. And we're making things here in America again. We're shipping American products overseas instead of American jobs overseas. We've created 700,000 new manufacturing jobs. And by the way, where the hell is it written to say we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world again? I'm not joking. Where's that written? I signed into law the bipartisan infrastructure law. By the way, the governor's opponent, Zeldin, voted against that. But as the governor said, she's still fixing the roads and bridges in his district, even though he's against it. But he'll probably take credit for it somewhere along the line. The most significant investment in our nation's infrastructure since Eisenhower's interstate highway system. And your governor is making sure all that money is coming to New York, and it's billions, is getting out the door right away. She's repairing roads, bridges, building New York's electric vehicle charging stations, expanding access to high-speed internet, cleaning up the water systems. You know, she's helping New York lead the way of making things in America. As you just heard, I wish your governor I was with her a few weeks ago in Syracuse, New York. And guess what? Before that, I was in Poughkeepsie with her. And thanks to the CHIPS and Science Act, again, well, let me tell you. I tell you, I love that. And by the way, Zeldin voted against the CHIPS and Science Act. Chuck introduced and passed that companies are investing across America in manufacturing semiconductors at home. You know, one of the reasons why inflation went up so much the first quarter last year was the cost of automobiles. Why? They could not get computer chips. Ain't nothing built these days without computer chips, including our defense establishment. Microchips that are now part of everything. We invented the computer chip here in the United States of America, and then somehow we forgot about it. You know, the fact is that it'll create 50,000 new jobs right here in New York. And that's on top of the 700,000 we've already created. Look, Governor Hochul pushed a similar law. Had we just done the CHIPS Act, we would not have, it may very well have been, you know, Syracuse may have gone, the Syracuse investment may very well, Micron's investment of $100 billion may have gone to Texas. But she moved here in the state to provide help as well. Micron is going to build a semiconductor factories in Syracuse. IBM making a $20 billion commitment in Poughkeepsie, where I just was. And you know, this couldn't have happened without your governor. I mean that sincerely. This is a really big deal for the state and this country. And folks, but for all our progress, we know a lot of families are still struggling. That's why Chuck's leadership and the help of your members of Congress, I signed into the Inflation Reduction Act. It's going to reduce the cost of everything that New Yorkers pay for every month. You know, Congressman Zeldin voted against that as well. It gives, by the way, that act gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug costs. The same power that the VA, the Veterans Administration, has, and has used it to cut drug prices in half. But they said, no. Big Pharma had too much power. They could never get Medicare to be in that position. Well, we tried to get it done for years. Big Pharma almost always stopped us. But not this year. This year, Big Pharma lost and the American people won. We put a cap of $2,000 a year on prescription drugs for seniors, no matter what their cost. 2, 10, 12, 15. Oops, stepping on it's black. Anyway, no matter what the cost, and some cancer drugs cost as much as that. They're never going to have to make more than $2,000. And we put a $35 a month cap on insulin to deal with their diabetes. How many of you people know somebody who needs insulin for their diabetes? Well, they're paying an average of $400 a month now. It costs $10 to make it, $15 a total of $15 to package it, and they're charging $400 to $800. That's over now. And we're coming back to make sure that not only applies to those folks who in fact are on Medicare. We originally had it for everybody, but the Republicans jumped in and got 2 Democrats to block it for everyone. But guess what? We're going to make sure everyone has that life-saving insulin regardless of their age before we come back. And we're making the biggest investment ever to deal with climate, ever. $468 billion to start with. That's going to lower energy costs for families. Again, Congressman Zeldin voted against it. We're doing all this while reducing, by the way, you know Republicans say those big spending Democrats? Well, guess what, guys? I got handed the biggest deficit in history. Guess what? I have cut the deficit $1.4 trillion just this year. The largest in American history. Never has happened before. We also cut $350 billion in the deficit last year. And we're going to cut another $250 billion in the next decade. And we did all these things without raising a single penny tax on anyone who made less than $400,000 a year. Not a single penny. I don't want to hear it from the Republicans who blew up the deficit. Remember, these are the same guys that passed a $2 trillion tax cut when Trump was president that overwhelmingly benefited the super wealthy and big corporations and didn't pay for 1 cent of it. Not 1 single cent of it. And we're the ones bringing down the debt. They're the ones who raise it, allowing us to help provide ordinary middle-class citizens a shot. You know, we finally making sure the biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. We raised the minimum tax on corporate America a staggering 15%. Give me a break. Firefighters pay more than that. But 15%, again, which Congressman Zeldin voted against. He didn't think we should raise the tax on corporate. And guess what? The corporates are paying zero in federal. There were 55 of the Fortune 500 companies in 2020 when I got elected that paid zero in federal tax. It's about damn time they paid a little. They made $40 billion, and they paid zero. Look, because we reduced the deficit so much, we're in a position to help millions of working and middle-class folks caught in the crossfire of a pandemic and an economic crisis left by Trump. And here on this college campus, and you are one of the best university colleges in America. No, you really are. And it's not just because my ambassador to Japan keeps pounding into my head, but it's true. Look, because we've acted, we're providing $10,000 debt relief for students And if you had a Pell Grant, a total of $20,000 released from student debt. And by the way, 95% of that goes to people earning less than 75 grand. You know, so you can start a business, make a down payment on a home, just have a little bit of breathing room. That's what it's about. And what are the MAGA Republicans doing about it? They're trying to stop it. Congressman Zeldin called it flat out wrong. Folks, their hypocrisy is unbelievable. The MAGA Republican members of Congress, this is a fact, as they say, check it out. They took hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in pandemic relief loans. Remember we had during the pandemic, we said we're going to do these PPP loans, people who their business was taken down because of COVID and the rest. Well, guess what? They're trying to block, these are the ones trying to block student relief. And one of them, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she got $183,000 in PP loans. Republican Congressman Vern Buchanan of Florida got over $2 million forgiven. Now they've forgiven those loans. Who in the hell do they think they are criticizing somebody getting 10 grand and struggling to get through school? Folks, that's some of the big stuff we've done now. Let's take a look at our Republican friends. Do you know what their number one priority is? Not a joke. The interesting thing about these guys, they're accidentally being honest because they're just saying it out loud what they're for. You know, they want to get rid of everything we just did. The power we just gave Medicare to negotiate lower prescription drug prices, gone. $2,000 cap on prescription drugs if they take back the gone. $35 a month cap on insulin, gone. Tax credits for lower energy costs, gone. 50% corporate minimum tax, gone. $800 saving on health care premiums we just got for families in the Affordable Care Act, gone. In fact, these guys still want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act altogether. And you know what that means? It means that millions and millions of Americans who only have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition because it exists, that Affordable Care Act is gone. No matter how hard they try to get rid of Obamacare, I ain't going to let it happen. And folks, and it gets worse. They're coming after Social Security and Medicare. It doesn't affect you students now, except you pay into it already if you have a job. You think I'm kidding? Don't listen to me. Listen to what they're telling us they're going to do. Senator Rick Scott, he's the guy from Florida in charge of electing Republican senators. They put out a brochure, okay? Brochure says just one thing: all federal legislation sunsets every 5 years. Continuing quote. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. Translation, if they don't vote it back into existence, it goes out of existence. No longer any major program. And then along came Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. As my mother would say, God bless his soul. He thinks 5 years, this is real. I wouldn't have believed this. They're just saying it out loud, as I said. He thinks 5 years is too long. He thinks Social Security and Medicare should be in the chopping block every single solitary year. Every single solitary year. And if Congress doesn't vote to keep it, it goes away. It's not just Social Security and Medicare he wants to do. He wants to put veterans' benefits and everything else in the federal budget at risk. But if Democrats keep control of the Congress, we'll guarantee that veterans are always cared for, folks. Look, and by the way, as long as I'm in the United States presidency, I'm going to veto it if they get it anyway. Look, there's one more thing I have to mention. I signed what's called the PACT Act, one of the most significant laws for our nation's history that helps millions of veterans who are exposed to toxic substance, like the firefighters in 9/11 were, and they all came down with cancer and other illnesses. Well, only these were veterans in Iraq and Afghanistan exposed to burn pits. A burn pit is a hole in the ground, literally the size of a football field, 8 to 10 feet deep. They burn in that everything: poisonous chemicals, tires, jet fuel, and so much other waste. And guess what? The law guarantees health care for those exposed to those burn pits. And on a personal note, as we used to say, when I was a senator, and a point of personal privilege, my son, Bo Biden, was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He should be the one talking to you today, not me. And he gave up his seat as Attorney General to go with his regiment, his group from the National Guard. You work for the president or you work for the governor. You can't work for both. So he gave up his job and he went with his group for a year to Iraq at Camp Liberty. I was in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 35 times. And I saw him, and I was at what they call the hooch, the place they live in, a little tent. And it was only about 250 yards from that burn pit. He went extremely fit, one of the most fit guys in his regiment, in his deal. And he came home with stage 4 glioblastoma, which there's no cure for. And he died. He died. And so many others are in the same situation as he was in. And a lot of people in that situation without the kind of help that his family is able to have with our family. But this law guarantees health care to those exposed to those burn pits. And if they were to pass, it guarantees tuition benefits and assistance to their families and their children to go to school. That's the least we can do, it seems to me. Least we can do. And folks, there's more. Republicans in Congress, led by South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, already introduced legislation for a national ban on the right to choose. Now, Governor Hochul is the first woman to serve as governor of New York. And on Tuesday night, with your help, she'll be the first woman elected governor of New York. And even before the Dobbs decision came down, your governor took action to protect patients and doctors to ensure that the right to choose for a woman in New York would be protected. And her opponent, meanwhile, believes that there should be no exceptions, even for rape or incest, none. His position is extreme. For example, he's been down in Washington voting over and over again to defund Planned Parenthood. And look, here's the bottom line. The Republicans gain control of Congress and pass a nationwide ban on abortion. I will veto it. And if you give me 2 more Democrats in the Senate, and we keep control of the House, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January and make it the law of the land. Folks, Governor Hochul's opponent talks a good game on crime, but it's all talk. It's all talk. I chaired the Judiciary Committee for years. I'm the guy that introduced the money for police officers and reforms. But let's look at the fact. Back on March 2021, as COVID was hitting the economy hard, mayors all over the country, Democrats and Republicans, said they were going to have to lay off thousands of cops because they didn't have any budget money coming in. They didn't have taxes coming in. So I came up with a plan called the American Rescue Plan. It gave states and local governments money they needed to keep cops on the beat, school teachers on the job, firefighters on the job. But when it came time to vote for this plan in Congress, not a single Republican voted for it. And they talk about the reason firefighters and first responders is because of that legislation. That's the reason. And they voted against it, and then they whine about how they're so tough. Republican leaders decided to play politics. Governor Hochul's opponent had a choice. He could keep cops on the job or cave to his Republican leaders. I'll give you one guess what he did. He caved. He voted against keeping cops on the beat, decided to play politics instead. And then in May, Governor Hochul and I were together in Buffalo. I visited every mass shooting site in the weeks after that senseless, evil mass shooting. We met with the families, spent 4 hours, and you could feel the anger and disgust. It would have been easy to feel helpless, but Governor Hochul decided to do something about it. Less than a month after the shooting, the governor signed a package of bills strengthening New York's gun laws. Her opponent's plan for public safety is to put more guns on the street. He opposed red flag laws, which would take guns out of the hands of people who pose a danger to themselves and others. Look, what kind of sense does that make? On the federal level, we passed the most significant gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years. And Zeldin opposed it. And we're coming back. I'm the guy that got the assault weapons ban. The first lasted for 10 years. And when we had that ban, mass shootings dropped precipitously. Well, I'm coming back and getting that assault weapons ban again. It makes no sense. And once again, Kathy's opponent is siding with the NRA. He voted against the assault weapons ban, refused to keep these weapons of war off the street. And as I point out all the time, what comes out of a muzzle of an assault weapon is 5 times quicker, faster than comes out of a muzzle of another gun. It can pierce Kevlar vests. There are not a whole lot of deer out there wearing Kevlar vests. Look, folks, this is crazy. If a politician won't stand up to his party leaders and keep cops in the beat, if he won't stand up to the NRA and get assault weapons off the street, do you really think he's going to take and help your families keep safe? Look, I tell you, he won't. But Kathy will. Folks, as I spoke about a few days ago, democracy is literally on the ballot. I've been making this case since I ran. You know, there are more than 300 Republican candidates for state, local, and federal office who are election deniers, who say that I did not win the election, even though the hundreds of attempts to challenge that have all failed, even in Republican courts. Well, Kathy's opponent is one of those election deniers. These deniers not only are trying to deny your right to vote, they're trying to deny your right to have your vote counted. No, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. With these election deniers, there are only 2 outcomes for any election. Either they win or they were cheated. No, I'm serious. Think about it. But let me tell you something. You can't only love the country when you win. And folks, these are the same guys, many of them, who said what happened on January the 6th, 2 years ago, the people who are engaged in that were patriots. No, I mean, no, all kidding aside, you're all students history. Most of you are not old enough to have lived it very much, but you're students of it. Can you think of any other time since the Civil War where anybody said things like that, where it's happened, where violence is condoned? Look what happened. My friend Paul, I shouldn't even get in, I'll get going. But Nancy Pelosi's husband, look what the Republicans said. Some of them making fun of it or making excuses. There's never been a time in my career when we've glorified violence based on a political basis. Let me close with this. Today, as I said earlier, we face one of those inflection points. One of those moments that not only comes around every 3, 4, 5 generations. We all know it in our bones that our democracy is at risk. Latest polls say 76% of American people worry about maintaining our democracy. And we know that this is your generation's moment to defend it, to preserve it, to choose it. And I want you to know, we'll meet this moment. Remember, the power in America lies where it always does, with you. That's not hyperbole. With you, the votes. And the reason everybody keeps asking me why I'm so optimistic. And I'm not joking, I've been saying this for a year. Because of you. And I'm being deadly earnest. You're the best educated. You're the least prejudiced. You're the most engaged. You're the most involved generation in American history. And you look at all the polling data. If you all show up and vote, democracy's sustained. Not a joke. This is not hyperbole for the second time. Not a joke. It matters. It's in your hands. And look, you're one of the reasons why, as I said, I've never been more optimistic about the future of this country. I look at America reasserting itself to lead the world in the 21st century. I've traveled this country and I've traveled the world before and since I've been president. I'll tell you one quick story. I showed up in February after I got elected in January. Got sworn in to the so-called G7. That's the 7 largest democratic economies in London. And I sat down with the other heads of state, most of whom I had known before, because that was my job as vice president and then as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. And I said, America's back. And one of the leaders looked at me and said, for how long? No, I'm serious. Think about it now. And then I think it was Schultz of Germany, but I can't remember for certain. But one of them said to me, she said, Mr. President, what would you think if you went to bed tonight here in England at this meeting and woke up and found out a mob of 1,000 people broke down the doors of the British Parliament, went down the halls, ended up killing 2 police officers and injuring scores of people to stop the outcome of election? What would you think? I'm being deadly earnest now. I give my word this is what the discussion was. Ask yourself what you think if tomorrow morning you turned on the television and found out that the Bundestag had been in fact moved. They had been raided. What would you say? If we need a little help, okay, I got it. Let's get a little bit of help here. Someone fainted. I got it. We'll get some help over here. Can we get some help? Do we have any folks out there that can help out? Raise your hands here, where he or she is. Okay. Come on. You've been standing a long time. Come on, do we have any medical help here? Or here they come. I don't think we can get through that way. Here, hang on a minute. Be okay. Coming through both ways here. No, it's a lot of standing. Okay? You got her. Okay, thank you. Look, like I said, I look out at our country and I see how the rest of the world looks at us. They still look at us as that shining hope. They really do look to the United States. We've got to demonstrate who we are. I see a great nation because we're a great people. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So vote. Get out the vote now. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No more drilling. There is no more drilling. I haven't formed any new drilling. No, that was before I was president. We're trying to work on that, get that done. Thank you. All right.
bring me a higher love. Oh, oh, bring me a higher love. Oh, it's that higher love I keep thinking of. Bring me higher love. Bring me higher love.
impossible to fix. Someone else instead of